Action.
Hear ye, hear ye. The following is a reenactment from Perry v. Schwarzenegger, the Prop 8 trial in U.S. District Court. Plaintiff Jeffrey Zarillo, a gay Californian who is directly affected by the passage of Proposition 8, is under direct examination by the plaintiff's lawyer, David Boyces. The plaintiffs in this case are two same-sex couples who simply want to marry, just as any other loving couple in America has the right to do. Court is now in session.
Very well, Mr. Boyes. Your first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. We call Jeffrey Zarillo.
Raise your right hand, please. Jeffrey Zarillo, called as a witness for the plaintiffs herein, having been first duly sworn, was examined and testified as follows.
Yes, I do.
Thank you. State your names, please.
Jeffrey James Zarillo.
Spell your last name.
Zarrillo.
And spell your first name, please.
Jeffrey is Jeffrey.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very well. Mr. Boyes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Mr. Zarillo.
Good morning, David.
Let me begin by asking you to tell the court a little bit about yourself. How old are you?
I'm 36 years old.
And where'd you grow up?
I grew up in New Jersey.
And how long have you been in California?
I've been in California since 1999.
Do you have any siblings?
I have one brother.
Tell me about your parents. Are they married?
My parents have been married for 41 years.
Is your brother married?
My brother has been married for just about 14 years.
Where did you go to school?
I went to school at Brick Township High School in Brick, New Jersey.
Did you go to college?
Yes, I did. I graduated from Montclair State University in Upper Montclair, New Jersey in 1995.
Are you employed?
Yes, I am.
What do you do?
I work for AMC Entertainment Incorporated.
How long have you done that?
It's the only job I've ever had for 21 years.
How did you start?
I started as a ticket taker and worked my way up to General Manager of Operations, which I currently am today.
Are you gay?
Yes, I am.
How long have you been gay?
As long as I can remember.
How long have you been openly gay?
I came out in stages. I came out to some coworkers and friends that I had in California when I was 25, and ultimately I came out to my friends and family in New Jersey when I was just about 30.
Why did it take you so long?
Coming out is a very personal and internal process. Excuse me. You have to come out, you have to get to a point where you are comfortable with yourself and your identity with who you are. So it was difficult where I grew up, through school and peer pressure and the things you hear and the things you see and the things you read about with regards to the gay and lesbian community and what coming out means and that process that people go through. And it changes you. Ultimately, you get to the point where you are comfortable with yourself, while previously you were going through the process of deciding to come out. Your thought process included what other people would think of you coming out, but it's not about that. It's not about anybody else at that time. It's about me and how I felt growing up in a society with the stereotypes and hate that existed.
Tell me a little bit about what you were referring to when you talked about what you read and what you heard and the stereotypes that you were faced with.
I think we all remember in school, whether it be grammar school, middle school, or high school, or college, and it didn't necessarily have to be about gay issues, but the peer pressure and the things that your friends and your acquaintances in school said, especially when many of my friends, at the time when I was going through this internal process, identified themselves as straight, and were dating women and asking girls to the prom and to school dances, and that was tough for me. But I was someone that really wanted to go out for the football team, but I was afraid to be with men in the locker room.
What were some of the things that you heard and read about gays and the stereotypes that you mentioned that caused you concern before you came out?
Objection. Hearsay.
I beg your pardon?
Hearsay, Your Honor.
I think it goes to the mental impressions of the witness. State of mind. Objections overruled.
I can remember specific times watching TV. I don't recall the name of the specific after-school special, but it was an after-school special about a child that came out to his parents and was kicked out of his home and told by his parents that they didn't love him, not to come back. And I remember seeing a soap opera called One Life to Live when I was in middle school, and there was a Ryan Philippe played He played a gay kid on the show, and it was a similar situation where he found it so hard to come out in his community, in his home. And he was ultimately kicked out of his home by his father because his father didn't approve of him.
Now, today you are in a committed relationship with another gay man, correct?
Yes, sir.
Tell me a little bit about that man.
He's the love of my life. I love him probably more than I love myself. I would do anything for him. I would put his needs ahead of my own. I would be with him in sickness and in health, for richer, for poorer, death to us part, just like vows. I would do anything for him, and I want nothing more than to marry him.
How long have you been in this relationship?
March will be 9 years.
When you said you wanted nothing more than to marry him, why'd you say that?
The word marriage has special meaning. That's why we're here today. If it wasn't so important, we wouldn't be here today. I want to be able to share my joy and my happiness that my parents felt. My brother felt, my friends, my coworkers, my neighbors, of having the opportunity to be married. It's the next logical step for us.
Do you believe that if you are married, that would change the relationship you have at all?
Oh, absolutely. I think one's capacity to love can absolutely grow. I think one's capacity to be committed to another individual can absolutely expand, and I'm confident that would happen with us.
Do you believe that if you were able to be married, that would affect your relationships with your family and your community?
Absolutely.
How so?
It's that I would be able to partake in family gatherings, gathering with friends, work functions as a married individual, and to stand alongside my parents and my brother and his wife, to be able to stand there as one family who have all had the opportunity to take advantage of being married and the pride that one feels that when that happens.
Do you believe that if you were married, that would affect the way other people who don't know you deal with you?
Sure.
Why?
When someone is married, and whether an introduction with a stranger, whether it's someone noticing my ring, or something that nature, it says to them these individuals are serious. These individuals are committed to one another. They have taken the step that involved in their relationship that one hopes lasts the rest of their life.
Now, do you have children?
No.
Have you thought about having children?
Yes, we have.
Have you talked about having children, the two of you?
Yes.
Why haven't you had children?
Paul and I believe the important step in order to have children would be for us to be married. It would make it easier for our children to explain our relationship, for our children to be able to explain our relationship, but also it would afford us additional protections for our child. And knowing that if we were going to enter into that type of family institution, that we would want to make sure we have all the protections so that nothing could ever eradicate that nuclear family.
Now, you're aware that in the state of California, you could register with the state of California as domestic partners, correct?
Yes, I am.
Have you done so?
No, I have not. No, we have not.
Why not?
Domestic partnerships would relegate me to a level of second-class citizenship, maybe even third-class citizenship, currently, the way things are in California today. And that's not enough. It's giving me part of the pie, but not the whole thing. And while it's obviously an opportunity for us to do that, we hold marriage in such a high regard that if we were to get married, we would be saying that we are satisfied with domestic partnerships as the way to live our lives. But it doesn't give due respect to the relationship that we've had for almost 9 years. Only a marriage could do that.
Do you have friends who have registered as domestic partners under the California state law?
Probably. It's not something that's talked about.
Do any of your friends celebrate anniversaries of registering as domestic partners?
No.
That sort of thing? How does not being married affect you in your life? Does it subject you to further discrimination?
Yes, it does.
How so?
The discrimination, whether directly or indirectly, it's pervasive, especially after Prop 8. Prop 8 has emboldened other states to take similar actions, and that makes it difficult. You can't turn on the TV without hearing a news story, you can't log into the internet without reading a news story about it, can't open a magazine or read a blog. It's everywhere now. Those are daily reminders of what I can't have.
Have you encountered instances where because you are not married, you were placed in embarrassing or awkward situations?
Yes, I have.
Can you give me some examples?
Well, one example is when Paul and I travel. It's always an awkward situation at the front desk of the hotel. There are numerous occasions where the individual working at the desk will ask us with a perplexed look on his face and say, "You ordered a king-size bed? Is that really what you want?" And that's certainly an awkward situation for him and for us, and it's very awkward. There are occasions where I've had to open a bank account. Paul and I had to open a bank account. And it was certainly an awkward situation walking to the bank and saying, my partner and I want to open a joint bank account, and hearing, is this a business account, a partnership? It would just be a lot easier to describe the situation. Might not make it less awkward for those individuals, but would make it crystallize it more by being able to say, my husband and I are here to check in for a room. My husband and I are here to open a bank account.
Are you ever confronted with situations where you're asked to describe your marital status?
Yes.
What do you do in those situations?
Those are very awkward situations because as an individual who's very proud of his relationship and has been in a committed relationship for almost 9 years, I proudly wear my ring on my left hand to signify that. And it's very common if we're out at a work function or a gathering with friends, someone identifies the ring and says, oh, how long have you been married? Or what does your wife do? Questions of that awkward nature, leaving me then to deliver the news that I'm a gay man and my husband or my domestically partnered friend works in the fitness industry, and then that sort of creates additional awkwardness in the conversation.
Now, assume that the state of California continues to tell you that you can't get married to someone of the same sex. Might that lead you to desire to get married and marry somebody of the opposite sex?
No.
Why not?
I have no attraction, desire to be with a member of the opposite sex.
Do you think if somehow you were able to be forced into a marriage with somebody of the opposite sex, that would lead to a stable, loving relationship?
Again, no.
Your Honor, I have no more questions.
Very well. Mr. Arum,
No questions, Your Honor.
cross-examination.
No questions.
No cross-examination. Very well. Then, Mr. Zarillo, sir, you may step down.
Thank you, Your Honor.